Talking Grit, a Detroit Lions podcast. Powered by the Monroe County Reporters. Here are your hosts, Jason Harwood and Jacob Litton.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Talking Grit. I am Jason Harwood. With me is Jacob Litton. Going to talk about this Chiefs game. Lions fall 30-17. I struggled with this one, Jacob. I did not really want to rewatch this game at all, mostly because of how the game ended. And I think that's, I want to start there. I want to talk about the Brawl. Start there. First of all, how are you doing?
We're going to start outside of the Lions. We're not going to start inside what happened. We're going to start after the game.
Yeah, I'm going to start at the end, work our way back. It's going to be like Memento. We're going to work in reverse here.
I say Tarantino, yes.
Yeah, exactly. So,
all right.
I think it's the biggest talking point from the game, what everybody's most interested in. And I think, everyone would be dying for us to talk about it. So let's start with that. I had the game off when this happened, by the way. I was up putting my boys to bed. So I did not see this until the Twitter thing, like right after it happened. So that was a shock to me. So walk me through what you saw and the timeline of everything and then how you feel about it.
So the game's over. I'm feeling defeated yet again. The Tigers failed me. The Michigan Wolverines lost in epic fashion. Really need the Lions to pull one home to help me over the weekend. That was not the case. Obviously, it was a long night. The game's over. I, usually record a lot of the stuff that's happening so I can post content and get stuff out there. And as soon as I hit the button just to stop recording, it cuts. And then there's just, the chaos of everybody on the field. So I hit record again real quick and I'm trying to sort it out while the announcers are, and then I saw the slow motion and right away I texted you. It was like, I did not like that from Branch. We need him. Really, really rubbed me the wrong way. I get the frustration, obviously, especially now that what happened. You can kind of look with the microscope and kind of see, what had happened to him during the game. I know he was mad about the block in the back in the end and just several calls that weren't going our way. Just wasn't our night. But you definitely can't do that. Shoving afterward. Honestly, what stood out before they were able to dissect everything is that there's a brawl going on. Like everybody, they're fighting. I'm trying to pick out who I can see to try to see, are there any Lions throwing punches or like, what are we doing? And this is before they showed like the slow motion. And then Chris Collinsworth still finds a way to bring up Patrick Mahomes. They're brawling in the middle of the field. And he was like, oh, they need to make sure that Mahomes isn't in the middle of that. Hilarious to me that, that's the way the night went, hearing them talk up Mahomes all night. But yes, really, really rubbed me the wrong way. I did not like that at all. And I texted you. You did not text back right away, so I kind of figured you had already shut the TV off and we're upstairs and, So give me your rundown. When did you see my text first? Did you see the Twitter? Like what?
I saw your text, but now that your text is like set in the context that I knew with the Brawl, that I knew about the Brawl. So like at first I was like, did he get injured like in the last 2 minutes? Or actually, you know what? Now I know my first thought was that like on a kneel down, that Branch dove over and did something stupid. That's what my first thought was when I saw your text, now that I think about it. And then, then I, of course, I didn't even know the timeline of everything, but then I think maybe you posted or got a video. So then I got an alert on my phone that a video was in process and I saw a Brawl and I'm like, oh crap, I gotta, what's going on? I'm with you. Like the whole thing just like it turned me off last night when I saw it. And then I didn't even want to, it was hard for me to revisit the game today just because of how that ended. This is what it reminded me of, Jacob. It reminded me of Jack Sawyer when University of Michigan planted the flag and then got upset afterwards. And then we were all really mad about it and say, because even Mahomes like, yeah, we do our, whatever stupid thing he said, we do our talking between the whistles. Yeah, you and the refs, but whatever. So I was just upset that Branch just like stooped to that level. Like just walk out the field. Like if he doesn't want to give Mahomes a high five or whatever, he's frustrated, that's fine. And who knows what Juju said to him. I'm sure he was, mouthing off or whatever. but Branch has got to be a cooler head than that. He's already got a target on his back from multiple fines. So this is another thing that, any close hit to the head or whatever, then he's at risk of being fined or definitely fined, but suspended again for like escalating acts. And it just puts a target on your back, just like with Terrion with the pass interference. It puts an unneeded target on your back. He needs to be smarter than that. We need him. Yeah. So it really just irked me that he did that, and obviously Dan Campbell wasn't very happy about it either.
Right. Obviously, understand. I knew that quote was coming from Dan saying, expressing his disappointment, apologizing to the other side. But, obviously Branch is still a young player. But the thing is, this wasn't, they ejected him and he gave the double birds to the Packers fans. I can live with that. I get that, that's kind of a little more harmless and whatever. That's in the moment. We felt like he was unjustly ejected and everything like that. But this is completely after the game is already over. And you know what? If you're going to start some sort of fight or something, get up and do it when he blocks you in the back. Do it right in between the lines then. Why are we saving it for after? If that's how strongly you felt about it, then you could have got up and got in his face right when it happened. Not afterward when, Juju's caught off guard. He kind of doesn't know. Is he going in? Like, are we shaking hands or what are we doing here? And then to get hit in the face like that. And then, doesn't help that Juju kind of tried to run and jump at him and didn't put up much of a fight after that. Branch ripped his helmet off, threw him down. They got some ugly pictures of that online. But, it shouldn't be a good feeling for Lions fans or for Branch or anybody really, to see Juju on the ground and everything. I mean, that's not funny to me. I don't like that being out there.
I don't like the perception of it, and I don't like Lions are a dirty team or whatever. People could say whatever they want, but the Lions play clean football during the game, and I'm sure that there was overly frustrating the result of the game and how the game went totally in between the lines. And, Branch was able to keep us cool during the game. You would be just as mad. Maybe people would be more mad if he retaliates in that game and gets a 15-yard penalty, gives Mahomes a first down in a critical situation. So I get it, but now that he's suspended, you're basically affecting a whole nother game. So my first question is, were you surprised that he appealed it?
Yes. I talked about that with JJ and Milo today because, they came out that he was going to be suspended and then they were like not sure about if he was going to appeal or not. But I mean, on the surface, what is there to appeal? Like, what are what defense are you going to present to the NFLPA about why you shouldn't be suspended? There's not. I don't know what. Are you lobbying for a larger fine but not getting suspended? I don't know what it could possibly be. But yes, very surprised to hear that he is appealing. And I don't know if that's just, through his agent or what, if they just recommended, if that's just the process that they feel like you should appeal. I don't know. I have zero faith that they're going to revisit this or that there's a chance that he's going to play on Monday.
Yeah, so I don't think that. So I was questioning it too. Like, that's the same exact question I had in my head. And I think Sports Illustrated wrote an article. One of the affiliates wrote an article, and it wasn't one of the local guys. It was a national beat. And they said, Trent Williams basically did the same thing in a game a few years ago. He was originally suspended, but then they revoked for a fine. Devontae Adams did the same thing a few years ago, and he didn't get a fine or suspension. He openly slapped someone after the game. So I think the problem is that this escalated to like two whole teams fighting each other, and the perception's really bad. So I think that that's what's going to happen. But to act like, Branch slaps him, but then is it Pacheco or who just bum rush? Because I don't think it's Juju that bum rushes him. Someone like goes,
I want to say it's Pacheco, but Pacheco's kind of holding him back. He's not like aggressively. He's kind of pushing him back, but then Juju's running up from behind and jumps up.
Yeah, they're like shoving Branch back to like get him out of there. The thing that also I don't like that we didn't mention earlier is that Branch slaps him and then steps back. Like that's kind of a baby move right there. Like if you're gonna slap someone, you get in his face and just do it. Don't. I don't know. I didn't like that.
Step back,
either.
like run away, or step back, like get ready for
He kind of
rebuttal.
like it did not look like an aggressive move. It's like, I'm going to slap and then I'm going to get back a little bit. But, there was another Chiefs player there too. So maybe he was just protecting himself. I don't know. But
After Juju started rolling around on the ground, maybe he thought that was over. I had to look just real quick because I remember there was something about the Devontae Adams thing, but he pushed a worker to the ground after the game.
yes.
That was not a player. That was not during prime time, and that did not
Yeah.
result in both teams brawling.
Right. Yes. No,
The Trent Williams thing I
that's
did
what
not think happened after the game either. Was that during the game?
That's what they said it was. I don't know. I should have kept the article up, but I don't
That's
have
okay.
it up right now. So, I mean, there is some precedent that he could, not get this. He might not get the appeal. But all right, so you've already answered my question. Do you think he wins his appeal? But do you think he should have even appealed in the first place? The guy's injured, right? I mean, he's obviously not playing. Like, my guess is he's playing like maybe 70% because it's not Brian Branch. He's not flying up and hitting people as hard as he normally does in the game. It's very obvious that he's just not up there. So do you think he should have just take the penalty and then lead in there? I mean, say he doesn't win. Like, I assume they're going to announce it before this game in Tampa Bay, but there's a chance that they would wait and do it after the game. In that case, you're losing Minnesota. So my question is, would you rather have him for Tampa Bay or Minnesota?
You want him to be 100%, right? And I don't think that he, like you already said, he's not 100% right now. It was clear that him and Kirby were not on. It was not the usual. And obviously with Terrion being out, no DJ Reed, the secondary was completely different looking than what it normally would be for us. So do I think it's better if he sits out a game and gets healthy? Yes. But would I rather have him full strength for Tampa or Minnesota? I think Tampa is a more important game to us right now. I feel like that's going to be out of our hands. I don't think it's going to matter anyway. He's going to get that chance to rest and come back during the bye week. But I don't like, our options. With Branch gone, Kirby's hurt. Kirby, honestly, probably should not be playing either. I mean, he hurt himself. I know we're going to talk about that later. He hurt himself, sits out for a little bit, comes back. He may not play next week either. Never did I think that it was going to lead to our entire secondary being out.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I guess I don't want to talk too much about the Buccaneers because we got, a lot of that stuff coming up later on. At least a lot of their guys are, that we'd be guarding are out. Godwin's already out. Abuka's probably going to be out. Evans may be out. Bucky Irving's out. So to me, it's like, okay, maybe take Branch out because then I'd rather have him back with Justin Jefferson and everything. And then, JJ McCarthy may be back, probably be back for after the bye week unless he gets injured again. So my last question for you is Brian Branch wins his appeal and he only gets fined. Do the Lions do anything on their own for Branch?
That's a very good question because on the surface, I feel like that's something that they might have done. That's a tough conversation to have. If Kirby's healthy, if Terrion, if DJ Reed, if everyone's out there and you can move Avonte Maddox into Branch's spot or whatever, maybe you say that we're going to sit you out for this game or we're going to sit you out the first half or something like that, increase the fine, conduct detrimental to the team or something like that. Now you kind of have a really weird situation, though, because we do need him, right? If he does get that appeal and he's able to play, if he's available, he needs to play. How much integrity do you have, or do you want to show that we won't tolerate that type of stuff, that you would consider suspending him yourself or forcing him to sit yourself and just going with what we have? I don't have the answer to that. I really don't know. Where are you leaning on that?
I think they'll do something. He either sits out the first series or first quarter. If he loses the appeal and gets suspended, that's going to be the penalty. But say he goes to the fine, the Lions will do something. He won't. I would be shocked if he started the next game. Dan Campbell was pretty emphatic, like that's not what we do. And I don't I get what you're saying from a team perspective. Like we're missing everybody else in our secondary, so it seems really harsh to punish ourselves again. But the Lions, I don't think of it like that. They just this is our standard. And if you're not playing to our standard or our expectations, there's going to be some retribution. If you're not practicing well and someone else is practicing better with you, I don't care if you're a first round pick or nothing, you're down on the depth chart. I think the same thing holds here. If you're, doing stuff that, we don't approve of, that we don't do as Lions, then Dan Campbell is not going to be shy about that. Doesn't mean that we don't want Brian Branch on this team. Doesn't mean that I don't still love him. Doesn't mean that you still don't love him. It doesn't mean I'm not going to wear his jersey anymore. No, I love Brian Branch, but that was a stupid decision, and there's consequences for doing stuff like that. I love my kids but when they do something that, is lower than expectations, even if it punishes me, like, I tell them they can't watch, they don't do their homework or whatever, and they can't watch the Tigers game, then I don't watch it either. Like that's not something I want to do, but those are the standards we've set in this house, and I think the Lions will do the same thing too.
Can you think
fans
of
will be
any
in an
time
uproar, I'm sure.
in the Dan Campbell era, though, that we've done that? Can you think of any team issued penalties like that?
I'm sure there has been, but maybe we're not privy to it.
Right.
As far
I
as
can't think of anything, off the top of my head of anything like that happening. Obviously, stuff like this doesn't happen very often, but just as far as like the whole conduct detrimental to the team thing goes, because you do hear other teams throw that out there, and you hear people, miss practice or whatever, and they're going to be sitting out the first quarter, the first series, or whatever it may be. Just doesn't seem like that's ever happened here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, usually it doesn't. Dan Campbell runs a pretty tight ship, and the players respect that. This is something that, I mean, if it happened a lot, then Dan Campbell wouldn't have very good control of this locker room. And frankly, it doesn't. Usually, this isn't a Jim Schwartz type team where everyone's just kind of doing things on their own, get tons of penalties and all that kind of stuff. I mean, most of the guys play.
Jim Schwartz catching strays from Jason.
Exactly. Well, I mean, what it was like during that time, and maybe that was a lot of Sue, but it just seems like we would take stupid penalties all the time.
Schwartz is throwing hands after the game, so I mean, what?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. All right, man. I think we've talked enough about that. The next thing that we're going to talk about that's a huge talk about this game, Chiefs with 0 penalties. When the preview podcast, I talked about how they were one of the most penalized teams, had 13 last week versus the Jaguars. This game, they somehow managed to play a perfect game. Did they play a perfect game, Jacob?
Crazy. I mean, if you ask the refs, they didn't hold anybody. There was no pass interference. There was no block in the back. There was no, Chris Jones was not offside in the neutral zone several times. No false starts. Just perfectly clean, perfect execution of a football game if you're the referees. If you're a Lions fan, or, it's kind of refreshing to me, if you're a fan of any of the other 31 teams, you're all in agreement that was bullcrap. Just watching it unfold. And, obviously they say holding happens every play or blah, blah, blah. This happens. They might miss a call here. They might miss a call there. But to keep continuously saying it and not get one flag was wild. And as the game goes on, we're in the fourth quarter now. It's like, what's the point of even throwing a flag anymore? And they did throw one late that was not accepted. But,
they had to throw that because Chris Jones was so obviously offsides that they couldn't not throw that flag.
He was offsides earlier pretty bad, too, and they didn't seem to care. That just doesn't... Obviously, they have the perception that they've got the refs in their pocket. It does not help the league whatsoever to have that kind of a game. Had they really played perfectly, then, shouts out to them. But they did not. And now, because of that, there's people that are not Lions fans going through all 22 and just pointing out and circling like, oh, my God, look how bad this hold is. Look how bad this play is. Look how he was lined up. Like, it's just not, honestly, it's not good for the league in general. I mean, that's why most of the time you don't have games with 0 penalties, because it does happen. There's probably each team commits maybe 5, minimum of 5 a game, probably more than that. They're not going to call every single one of them, but to not call any of them, and then especially with the huge swing of taking the touchdown off the board, it just didn't go our way tonight. I can't blame the refs. They didn't help, but,
Yeah, I'm not blaming the refs at all, too. The Lions just didn't play well enough in that game when they needed to, most notably on offense. But the perception is terrible. And, this led, I think part of it, of not calling a penalty, led to this brawl at the end. Mahomes clearly points at Branch right after he runs it for his rushing touchdown. Anybody else gets a taunting penalty. You cannot point directly at a player, especially after scoring a touchdown. That's an automatic penalty.
And flex.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he does flex after all the after touchdowns, which, okay, if that's part of his celebration, that's fine. But you can't point at someone and then do it. That's that's crap. And I did not like that one bit. And yeah, that leads to that perception that everyone has that the Chiefs get away with everything. And they, and then also the whole Kelsey, throwing his hands up, that ball was uncatchable. I don't care. That was stupid. What did Rocky Scene grab him? And yeah, he did. They did call holding though. They called pass interference. That ball was uncatchable. Should have been waved off. And it doesn't. The perception is it doesn't till you don't see the flag until Kelsey goes over there and starts barking at the referee. And so that doesn't help any situation when the flag doesn't come out until a player starts, yelping. And then the other thing that they didn't call was Laporta when he made that one-handed catch. But the defender was all over him. He grabbed his one arm. That's why he had to one-hand it. Collinsworth, who's all about Mahomes and all about the Chiefs, even mentions it. He's like, the defender, he's all over him. And, no flag on that play. And then you've already mentioned the golf thing. The lateness of that flag. There have, other than intentional grounding, I've never seen flags come out later that to any other team than the Lions. That Dallas game, and then that. It's like we've already scored the points, and then they decide that, and I know what their explanation is. We had to talk to multiple referees. Well, it was a full minute and a half after the play was over. We're
the field goal
celebrating.
team is lined up.
Yeah, exactly. And then they throw a flag that late. And if you listen to Dan Campbell says that came from New York. Like he's convinced that it came from New York. And that
which is illegal, and it's not possible. And the refs had to say, no, that was our conference and whatever they had determined. I mean, it just, that kind of stuff feels like it only happens to us.
Yeah. I'm not privy to every penalty in every game. I don't know, but I've never seen the Lions benefit from a flag a minute and a half after a play on a scoring play. I could tell you that. We've had, the Calvin Johnson 5-minute, when the Calvin Johnson rule was put into place where at the end of the game where he dropped the ball, that's another thing that they took off the board. Like you just don't see this crap with other teams. So it sucks. Again, we didn't lose the game because of it, but as a Lions fan, it's incredibly frustrating to deal with this again and again and again.
And even the explanation, so, they give the explanation on the field afterward. They tell Goff that you lined up under center, and because you lined up under center, you have to, when you're in motion, you have to stop for like a full second before they're able to snap the ball. Well, Goff said, I didn't line up under center. I walked up as a quarterback. I did not, get set with my hands down. And I guess the refs on the field said, no, that wasn't the case. The rules analyst, as the play is going on, I'm sure you heard too, said that was a legal formation, that he doesn't have to. And I think that was when they said it didn't even matter if he was in shotgun. He's got to get set and established. Well, then online afterward, no, you don't have to. It is if you establish yourself under center. So I still right now don't know the exact right answer because I've heard multiple things from NFL sources and from the referee crew. So that's got to be frustrating for the Lions to practice that play and then think that you're doing everything right, clearly, and then, actually, never mind, that's not legal.
The thing is that a lot of times when they'll run those plays, they'll run those by referees ahead of time just to give them a heads up like, hey, we're running this. And so wondering if they didn't do that in this case or we didn't clear it somehow because it seems like
we cleared the Decker play. We cleared that. We talked about that and cleared that, and they still called that incorrectly for us.
Oh, I know. Yeah, exactly.
This doesn't seem like something we would even had to mention. It's a pretty common, I mean, yes, it's a trick play in the sense that Goff's the one in motion, but that's the only tricky part about it. If you take Goff out and make that Amon-Ra, if he slowly walks up to the center and then darts out in motion, nobody bats an eye.
Right. Yeah. The sad thing about it is it took away Dave Montgomery throwing 2 touchdowns. I mean, he would have had 3 passes and 3 touchdowns, man. God.
Another good throw. Goff bobbled it. He kind of almost caught it off of Amon-Ra. Then Amon-Ra pancakes his guy.
I know.
We were robbed of that.
I know. It was like a hold your breath moment.
Yeah.
My question is if he drops that pass, do they call a penalty? Do we even get the points?
Oh, right.
You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. If he drops the ball, they will not call that.
Right.
They wouldn't even get together and talk about it.
No.
The last thing I want to mention, though, about the penalty thing, just because you brought it up, and I know that you hate this too, but the ball that's over Kelsey's head, where it's like it seemed like it didn't even hit the ground, and then he's throwing his arms up at the ref, and he's like, he's yelling at the ref, and then Travis Kelsey's motioning, like holding to Rock, like, oh, you're holding, that's holding. And then the ref's like, I'll give you one better. It's going to be pass interference this time. I'm worried that the NFL is going to be like the NBA, where the game is cluttered so much by the players talking to the refs. I feel like they need to do something and just say only the captains can talk to the referees. If anybody else argues a call, anybody says something to the ref, that's unsportsmanlike conduct. They've got to do something about this right now, because the perception is terrible, but it's working. I mean, there's times where we've seen where, like, Kelsey or somebody, Jamar Chase gets on the ref's face and just yelling at this ref. And then the next play they give, holding on the defender that's on Jamar Chase. What kind of, how does that look for the league? That's terrible.
Yeah, it is. I don't like it. And you're right. It needs to be stopped. It's been going on for so long, though. I mean,
it's getting worse, though.
It is. I mean, you look at every play these wide receivers take, they're getting, they throw up their hands, like throw the flag. And it's like, no. Yeah. Okay. We've complained about the refs enough. It's not going to change anything. The Lions didn't lose because of it, but it's just, frustrating for us.
It didn't help our cause, but yes, that was not what went wrong for us.
No, there's a key play, and we'll talk about when we get to the offense that, to me, decide where the game went one way and it should have went the other way. But we'll get there in a minute. So transactions, there's a lot of them leading up to this game. Some are very surprising. Giovanni Manu placed on IR with a knee injury, and that was surprising. Did not expect that. I mean, we were talking whether he was going to get a start in this game, and then all of a sudden he has to go on the IR. So he's out for at least 4 games. Could be longer, which that stinks for his development, right? Because he's not going to be able to practice during that time. And obviously he needs as many reps as he can get. We waived Kingsley Igwakin and Chris Smith from the active roster. Chris Smith hasn't played. He's been on the active roster, but he's been inactive for all 5 games. Kingsley played, week 1, 2, but hasn't played since. So then we had to add, we had these holes on the active roster. So we added Eric Hallett. He had 0 snaps in the game, but he did get 6 special team snaps.
That's what Jason's thinking about.
I'm hungry. Apparently, Quentin Jefferson, defensive line, had 14 snaps. It called him up. Nick Whiteside was put on the active roster, 0 snaps, but he did play special teams. He got some special team snacks, as we call them now.
Yeah, so that shows you, though, like, Quentin Jefferson's only been around for a few weeks, but he obviously did enough in practice to beat out Chris Smith to the point where he made Chris Smith expendable. He takes the spot on the active roster, and then, he's actually active for the game and is playing snaps. So shouts out to Quentin Jefferson. I know Pro Football Focus did not rate him very high, but he's out there.
And you got to wonder what's going on with Wingo, because he also passed, Quentin Jefferson passed Wingo, right? I mean, Wingo has played the 1 week, played a ton of snaps, and then has been inactive every game since, including this one. And then Lawrence Strickland was inactive, which I found very interesting. Hallett jumped him. I think Hallett could play corner, so I think that versatility probably jumped him up there just because of how short we are on corner. And then, Taylor Decker didn't play, which Skipper played very well in his spot. I was happy, with his left tackle play. Did better than Manu the week before.
Did you see him get hurt?
Dude, Skipper? I did not see that.
He got up like really slow. I was like, oh my God, please don't.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
It didn't affect him. He played all the snaps, but I mean, there was just one where it was like he was laying on the ground for a minute. He was slow getting up.
Yeah. Well, when you're 6'9", it's hard to get up off that ground.
Yeah, right.
Lee McNeil is out. The talk sound for the beat writers said like the Tampa Bay game is the game that he's going to come back. So probably get him, it's probably a good idea. Get 25 snaps in this game. Then he's got then he's got 2 weeks to get, where we get, it's not going to be full strength of Liam. I don't think that's going to happen until, November, December-ish. But I think we're going to get, more back to a regular lane that we're used to. But they said he's been destroying people in practice. He's ready to hit someone else on the team. Sione Vaki's still out. Zach Cunningham was out, and Avante Maddox got hurt hamstring midweek last week, so that's not good that he was out. We did elevate Devin Cochran, and then Arthur Millette, who we just signed last week, got in the game nickel and played 13 snaps. So, again, for the second week in a row, it's a cornerback that we've signed midweek has gotten, double-digit snaps in the game right that following Sunday.
And had to come out and guard Travis Kelce on a 3rd and long.
I know. Yeah. That stakes because, man, having a Meek, like if we're full strength and we got DJ Reed out there and Terry on, then a Meek's on Kelce. And I know him. I know Kelsey's got him in size, but I trust a Meek to be able to play tighter coverage than all that. Yeah. So frustrating. All right, man. Let's start out with special teams. Want to talk about what we did there?
Quick summary on special teams. Khalif Raymond was questionable. We weren't sure if he was going to play, but he was active. He, however, did not return any punts. Chiefs did not punt very often, and when they did, it was, I think, did they punt twice? And it was 2 fair catches? I don't have the number. I think they only punted once or twice, and it was a fair catch. Jake Bates, 1 for 1 on field goals, 2 for 2 on extra points. I put Jake Fox in here. Jack Fox.
You did that. You've done that. You've done that a couple times. I think he did it last week too.
Nice. I probably copied and pasted, so maybe I did. Anyway, Jack Fox, 3 punts, averaged 46 yards. 2 of those 3 were inside the 20. So another good game from him. Didn't matter as much in the end where we pinned them, where they started. The defense was not able to slow them down.
No, we weren't able to get the stops that we needed. Mahomes get out of pocket or just we weren't very good at tackling either. We'll get that into defense.
Yeah.
But I think one thing that's glaring, especially with Khalif not doing the punt returns, or they didn't have him in it because they had him at kickoff before too, is our kickoff return. I know Justin Rogers brought it up in one of his articles. Craig Reynolds can't be back there. We need someone faster than Craig back there. I know that they started putting Lovett in towards the end of the game. I saw that. But we need to upgrade our return team. I know they want someone big back there. That's what Phipp wants. We need a burner back there. We need someone that can with some speed.
You wanted Grant Stewart back there, and I said,
he's
no,
faster.
I'm not for
He's
it.
faster than those other 2 guys. He is faster.
You think he's faster than Sailors or Reynolds?
Huh? He is.
I have to look.
He runs a force. Look it up. He's faster than them.
Hello. You about to give me his
He runs
40-yard dash
faster
time
than
from when
them.
he was drafted or what?
Huh?
I said you about to give me his 40-yard time?
Grant Stewart's a track guy. He's faster.
Straight line
I mean,
speed.
he runs faster, straight line faster, and that's, whatever. He gets up there. So I'm not saying Stewart's the answer because ball security was an issue, but I'm not saying you put a real super speedy guy back there that, will fall, if he gets, a strong wind or whatever, but we need someone faster than Craig Reynolds back there. It would help. I think it'd be nice to have some threat to get out to the 40-yard line every once in a while.
Right.
Ball security is number 1 with me, and they're both going to hang on to the ball for the most part. So it's just frustrating that we're not getting down the field. But I'm nitpicking, to be honest with you, because with our offense, it doesn't matter. If we can get out to the 30 every time, I'm happy with that. All right. I've said my stuff on special teams. We can move on. Defense. Where do you want to start here?
We're going to start with the defense. Let's just briefly go through some of the stats, and then we'll dive in deep a little more. The Chiefs went 4 for 10 on 3rd down, but they went 2 for 3 on 4th down. We did stop them once on 4th down. It's 4th and 1 in the red zone. It was a real nice stop there. But overall, they were 4 for 6 in the red zone. We came away with this one 3 sacks. We did not force any turnovers. Anzalone led the team with 12 tackles. Linebackers were out there a lot, especially in coverage. The number 1 takeaway for me with the defense, it seemed like right away, was that Kirby and Brian Branch were definitely just not 100%. They were just like a second late getting there. And then even the play where Kirby got hurt was not even on a tackle or whatever. It's just the way he pulled up. And then Kirby goes to the medical tent. I imagine they give him some sort of injection, to numb that up. They tape it heavily. He didn't even have a brace on. They taped it, give him 10 minutes for it to kick in as he's jogging on the sideline, and then Kirby's good to go for the rest of the game. it just was not ideal. The defensive performance was not good enough. I know the secondary, secondary was banged up. We had some backups in the secondary, but the pass coverage was just not good. And then even when we were in position to make the play, I don't have it in front of me. You might have it, but the missed tackles, I mean, it just seemed like we were not able to bring anybody down.
Yeah. We took poor angles. I remember Jack Campbell took a really poor one. It was actually Branch and Campbell both took poor angles on one that Kelsey caught, and he turned that up. We had 10 missed tackles in this game. The previous high of the season was 7. So we, you know, did not play, how we normally play on defense and tackle them, make them earn it. And we didn't do that. It was, I don't know. I don't think the lights are too big for this team. Obviously, we played well in prime time before. I don't know. It felt like a little bit like the Packers game where it got a little bit big for us, and then we just weren't. We were out of position on things, and a lot of it, our secondary is really banged up. That being said, I thought Rock and Amik played well enough for us to win this game. They didn't let up any deep shots. We actually kept up pretty contained. They went underneath. The problem is that Kelsey was our linebackers or whoever we had on Kelsey. We could not, do anything. Kelsey, even if we even had close coverage on Kelsey, he was not catching that ball cleanly. He does not. In the last couple of years, I don't know what it is, but he double clutches a lot of passes, and if you have close coverage and can hit him or get your hands in there, he will drop passes. I mean, he's just not the same. He's getting older, but a lot of times he was so wide open that he could double clutch passes, and it didn't even matter. So our linebackers didn't play as well in this one as I would have liked. I mean, I would have rather put Anzalone on Kelsey. I would have trusted him to cover him well enough, but it just didn't. We didn't play. I think we played well enough on defense to win this game, to be honest with you. Because I know they scored 30, but when we get to the offense, they shouldn't have got that touchdown before the halftime. And that's, when we lost it on that 4th down, that was like a 14-point switch in this game. It really was.
They were just going on long drives, though. And I mean, we were getting them to 3rd down, but then we weren't stopping them. Or, we kind of got a taste of our own medicine that they weren't getting it on 4th down, but they were getting close enough that they were like, you know what, we're just going to go for it on 4th down. They're like, we're not going to punt either. We're going to make you stop us. And we just couldn't do it consistently. And
No,
I mean,
well,
you're right about over the top. I don't know. Worthy did not really catch one over the top. Thornton, I didn't see Thornton almost the whole game. But it was the quick stuff, the underneath, the slants, the screens, and then just the missed tackles and we were blocked out of the play almost too easily.
Yes. Well, ironically, the one play that they didn't get on 4th down, that was like a 3rd and 16 or 18, and they get all the way up there and they make it a 4th and 2. And then that's the play that Thomas, the safety, our backup safety, made a really nice play on that, knocked the ball down. Because I told the boys, I'm like, we really dodged a bullet there because they would have punted it, and we would have got it probably inside the 10. Okay, if we not let that screen pass get up there. But that was another case of, they're going to do this dump off pass, and then they do it, and then they get 15 yards on it. You're doing, they did, like you said, they did things to us that we usually do to other teams, play, get those extra yards, fight for those extra yards, get close enough 4th down, and then go for it and get it. Because you're right, they went 4 for 10 on 3rd down, but then 2 for 3 on 3rd down. So essentially, they extended 6, not I won't say 6 drives because some of these might have happened inside the drive, but they were essentially 6 for 10 on plays that we could have got them off the field. And you can't we can't lose it like that. That's especially with Mahomes. Now, a lot of those were, and some of those look so easy. They would throw really short passes to Kelsey, like screen, or, just he would hit the seam a little bit and then, get 7-8 yards. It seemed like automatically. I feeling if Amik's out there that those plays don't happen if he's at nickel or guarding Kelsey on those.
A lot of it was just relying on the linebackers and coverage, and they were dropping, and they already know. I think Mahomes knew, obviously, he's reading the defense, but he knows where he's going with the ball before it even happens. And, those throws are happening 5-6 yards away from the line of scrimmage, and then they're turning them up and getting 1st downs out of it. Or, if we're making the play, well, then maybe they're getting 6-7 yards and then they're running it and getting it the next time.
Yep.
It's just frustrating to watch the defense just slowly getting chipped away.
Well, especially in the fourth quarter when we score a touchdown, get it within one score, and then they immediately just go on a long drive and get the touchdown. Because if we held for a field goal, then we could have taken the lead on the next one. And when you're hanging your hat as a fan watching that game, and then they get that they answer right back with a touchdown, that's when it's sort of like, oh, this is not our night. We're not going to get it. Because like if you remember back even in the Ravens game, we were down a touchdown in the second half, and then we started. We turned things around. The defense started to get some stops, and the offense just kept scoring. But once we were down 2 scores, and they weren't calling offsides on Chris Jones, then they were going to beat us, and they got to play they got to play their game. The clock between the clock and how much we were down, it all fell in the Chiefs' favor, and that was because the offense didn't score enough early enough, and the defense couldn't get the stop they needed.
Yeah, that's where I have the turning point of the game, which I know that you have it much earlier, and we'll talk about that when we flip over the defense. But for me, it was after that. So Laporta catches the touchdown, and it's 20-17 at the beginning of the fourth quarter. They get the ball. It was a second down, incomplete pass when Hutchinson got that shot on Mahomes, which was another thing that was kind of, there was a lot of uncharacteristic plays from us tonight. There was just a lot of sloppy things that happened that do not normally happen, and that was one of them. And that was, was that surprising for you? I mean, do you think because of the way he was stunning in, he really just didn't know that he got rid of the ball? I mean, to me, it looked pretty obvious. The ball's gone, and then he just took a shot at him. And I don't know if that was the frustrations of getting held most of the night, and that was kind of the same thing. He just let loose. But that would have been 3rd and long. And instead, they get a free 15 yards and a first down, and then they never even got to, or they got to 3rd down one time when they scored the touchdown. But I mean, that kind of kickstarted that drive, and that was the beginning of the end for us.
Yep, I agree with you. That I don't know what happened on that. I mean, that's not like Hutch is not a player like that he's going to take on hits, but it was the right call. I mean, I'm not going to argue that call.
Right.
He took definitely 2 steps and then just smoked him.
You can't breathe on Mahomes with these refs around. You definitely can't smoke him after the play.
No.
They made that an easy call.
No. And, you can read Mahomes' lips. They showed that in telecast. It was and then funny. They cut it off, Yep. Yeah. So the defense, honestly, like in the situation that they were in, as far as like what was being called on the field, I think they did all right. Like they could have won this game with that defensive performance if our offense would have been able to, especially if we would have scored the touchdown, the Goff touchdown. I think that was huge because we would have been up on them. Like when we went up 20-17, we would have been 21-17 at that, or 21-20 at that point, and then it changes the whole game. But that is not the play that I think turned the whole tide. Although I think that was an important play.
Well, so in my thought process behind that is it's going to be third and long, which obviously we had not been stopping them very consistently anyway, but this is back in they're at their own 30-yard line or whatever. We give them a fresh first down, and then, that kind of just was all the momentum they needed to get the ball rolling. They go down and score. It becomes 17-27, and then the offense goes 3 and out. Goff takes a sack on 3rd and 10, and, we're at our own 20-yard line. There's no way to go for it on 4th and 14. We've got to punt the ball away, and then they drive right back down. And, we held them to a field goal, but we got to use all of our timeouts, and at that point, it's just too little too late. Mm-hmm. That's why I feel like that was the turning point in the game. That would have been a big third down.
No doubt about it. Huge play. I mean, you're right. And I don't think there's a right and wrong answer. It's just opinions about where the turning point of the game is. And let's go to that. I'm going to jump over to the offense right now. So, offense, Goff, statistically speaking, it was 23 for 29, 203 yards, threw 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He played a pretty clean game. He had tons of time, especially first half. I was really happy with his play. You start getting down to the fourth quarter and they know you're going to pass. They're really going to rush. And that's when Goff's limited mobility really comes into really comes into effect. It's like that's why it makes it tough when we're down like that, because Goff isn't going to extend plays or do whatever, and then they start to play shell defense, and it's really on our playmakers to make a play, and they can't do that. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It just makes it really tough for us. You have a nice line on here that he's 23 of 26 before that final drive, before he goes 0 for 3. So again, incredible completion percentage, staying ahead of the sticks, which is really important. It allows us with our run game. Goff does exactly what we need to do. I know 203 yards is not amazing, but he played well enough. And the turning point of the game was one of those incompletions, and that was the one that Amon-Ra should have caught, because that extends that drive. I don't know if we score on that drive, but I have a feeling we get that fourth down. We had them where we wanted them right before the half. We could have ran that clock all the way down and they would not have scored. But the fact is, we turned it over. They scored a touchdown. It's almost like a 14-point swing in that one play. At the very least, we're running more time off the clock, and then we probably don't leave them enough time to score that touchdown. Maybe they get a field goal or something like that, but it would have just played in our favor. Looking at it live, I thought it was a very poor throw. But then on the replay, when they showed the angle, how much pressure he had, I thought it was actually a really, really good throw. And Amon-Ra catches that 99 out of 100 times. So that was tough to see.
Yeah, you chalk that up to or if you want to add that to the list of uncharacteristic things, Amon-Ra dropping a ball on fourth down. Never happens. And yes, it was low. It was a wobbler. It was kind of one that he had to catch close to in between his legs. But like you said, literally 99 out of 100. Like, Amon-Ra does not drop those balls.
No.
I just don't. Maybe because it was a wobbler. It wasn't anything to do with the pressure or the moment or anything like that. It just was a timing issue, just with the pressure in Goff's face. The ball kind of came out maybe a little quicker than he wanted it to. Obviously, not pinpoint accuracy like he wanted, but yes, Amon-Ra has to catch that, and he usually does. And then, the resulting of that is when they flip it around, like you already said. This is the drive where Travis Kelce throws his arms up and gets that call for pass interference on 3rd and long. Then they get the ball inside the red zone, and then we give up that. I think this is the play, which I don't know if we want to do this in all 22, but I think this is the one where Jack Campbell's like right on Kelce. He's like right on him, and he jumps and tries to swat the ball away, and he just misses it. And Kelce gets it and goes upfield. And then Rock Ya-Sin picks Kelce up and dumps him on his head at the 1-yard line.
Yeah. Your tweet on that was hilarious. Like, that's not how Amon-Ra does this headstand. I thought that was hilarious.
Thank you for appreciating that.
Yeah, it was really funny. I laughed out loud when I saw it. That Campbell had very good coverage on that one. That was just a great throw. And that was another one that Kelce, like he did not catch that cleanly. Like, he bobbled it to himself, but then, came right down. But good on Rock I know they ended up scoring, but that was, Rock put on a good hit. Kelce's a huge dude, and to be able to knock him over like that was awesome.
For sure.
All right. So Gibbs at 17 carries, 65 yards. Man, he was so close to busting a couple of these. Like, he had the safety one-on-one. And he only caught the one pass, which their linebackers were playing really well. I will give the Chiefs linebackers had an excellent game. Montgomery was 4 carries for 24 yards. Again, we went back to the Gibbs was like 2 snaps for every one of Montgomery's. I would like to see Montgomery get a little more action, but it just didn't happen in this game. And then Amon-Ra, 9 receptions. He was, targeted 10 times. That one that he dropped was huge, but he only got 45 yards. So they were keeping him bottled up. He wasn't getting any yak like he was last week for the Bengals. They were tackling way better than us. They weren't allowing us to get upfield.
Yeah, they had McDuffie on Amon-Ra. That was a good matchup.
Yep. Oh yeah, it's best on best for sure. But I trust Amon-Ra to win that, a majority of the time, because he's just that good. Laporta had another fine game, 5 receptions. That touchdown catch that he had was unbelievable. Again, like, it might be my favorite one. The one with, I don't know, the Commanders one's pretty awesome, but this one was pretty sweet too.
It sucks that
I
they
don't
both
know.
happened during losses, so that we can't,
Yes.
when you reminisce
I
about how
know.
awesome a catch it was, it's
Yes,
sour.
it's bittersweet. It's not. Yeah, it's not that great. JMO had his best game of weeks, right? Statistically speaking, 6 receptions, 66 yards, and a touchdown. They tried to get him some run. They were really trying to get him involved in the offense. So I liked seeing that.
That was in my key to victory. I was like,
Mhm.
just please, on the screens, give them the end around, let them touch the ball, and they did a little bit of all that actually. So yeah, good game from JMO.
Yep. Third down, we were 5 for 11, but we were 2 on fourth down, and that that's not helping you out at all. And the red zone, we were 1 for 2. We obviously could have been 2 for 2 had New York not called down, but it just didn't happen that way. Also, I'm wondering, like, I don't know why we had to get cute with that either. Like, we were pushing them back. We could have got in there. I think trusting Demo down in there. But it is what it is.
Yeah, I did not like Demo only getting 4 carries,
Mhm.
which I know, they trade drives and everything like that. That's just kind of the way it went. And I think Demo's drive was the one where, we had that 4th down play. So just kind of the way that
Now,
it fell this time. But
are
sorry, go ahead.
you with me that Demo needs to tuck in his white undershirt? Because I don't I think if he doesn't get grabbed by that on that play, I think he's gone. I really think that he's gone if they don't have that to grab. Like he has that hanging out there because the safeties and everything didn't have the angle on him and he would have been gone. I mean, he was running full stream forward and their hips are not turned that way. So I know David Montgomery's not the fastest guy, but he was running straight. He had good speed going there until he got slowed up by I remember the Dallas game where, they pulled his shirt and it was like 2 yards behind him, but he still ended up scoring that touchdown. I am convinced that Dave Montgomery, I don't know if he doesn't score, he gets a lot more yards if he doesn't have if he has his shirt tucked in there.
Be a good one to look at in all 22.
100%. 100%. All right. Anything else you want to cover on offense or you think we're good there?
No, I think I just, as a whole, we play complementary football, and this was just not characteristic. It wasn't complimentary. Just, and it still, it's 30-17, but we were a couple plays away, and really we were not at full strength. So I'm not concerned by this loss at all. Obviously, it sucks.
Mhm.
You don't like to lose, but as far as like where this puts us at with the season and what this means, I don't think it means much.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember, we talked about when we got up to this stretch. It was before, I think it might have been before the Baltimore game. And I said that we're going to lose this Kansas City game on some referee crap. And now I don't believe that we lost because of referee crap. There was definitely referee shenanigans in this game. I'm not concerned about like this going forward or this means anything like that. Everybody was down on the Chiefs, and now all of a sudden the Chiefs are the AFC the best. Especially, I don't know what the Bills are doing now, but they were losing 21-7 the last I looked. So AFC are suddenly class of the or Chiefs are suddenly class of the AFC again just because they beat the Lions at home. They play at Ford Field. I think we're going to have different results.
Right. No, if anything, I feel like this year is just one of those any given Sundays. I mean, there's not
Yes.
any team that you see out there. Everyone's got weak spots, or everyone, maybe not even just the weak spot thing, but there's no teams that are so bad that they can't pull out a win. Even the Jets that have not won a game right now have put up a fight, in more times than not. You got the Broncos upsetting the Eagles, and everyone talked about the Eagles were the, powerhouse. And now you had the Eagles or the Broncos almost get upset by the Jets. It's just one of those things. You got us beating the Ravens, the Chiefs beating the Ravens. Who did the Chiefs lose to before this?
Jaguars, they lost last week.
That's right, on a late game. Yeah, and then the
Yeah.
Jaguars also just lost to the Seahawks, right?
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
one of those things. Everybody's losing to everybody. There's nobody undefeated anymore.
And that's why I'm not worried about it right now either, because it's not what we do now. It's how well we're going to play. And the thing about our injuries this year is we're hopefully going to be getting these guys back, right? We're going to be getting Taylor back, Terrion, DJ Reed. These guys, and we're hoping Branch and Kirby get healthy at some point. It's not like last year where we kept putting, losing key players to IR. We're going to be getting a lean back. I mean, and Rodrigo's going to be back. This is not the same situation as last year. Like right now, we're living in it, like with our whole secondary just in decimation. But it's not like something that hopefully, we're not carrying this into the playoffs, right? We're going to recover. And so that's one thing that I don't feel like lost after this game. Am I disappointed? Yeah, but I'm more worried about the Branch, like the fallout of that later on. Like that left a bad taste in my mouth. We'll see. We got a tough one next week versus Tampa Bay. If we go into 4-3 into the bye week, some people are going to be, Brian Holmes didn't do enough. We should have signed that Zadarius Smith, right? Isn't that right, Jacob? Should we have signed him just for him to retire?
It wouldn't have turned out well. I don't know. Maybe he wouldn't have retired if he was back here, huh?
That's my argument, that he went there, didn't like the situation. It's not to say he would have retired if he got to Detroit, but for everyone clamoring for him to, for us to sign him, it might not have worked as well. And honestly, would you want him playing more, taking snaps away from Muhammad? I wouldn't.
We didn't. We skipped over that, but Al-Quadin Muhammad
Yeah.
did not get very many snaps this game. And
No,
then when
he
he did,
didn't.
he got a sack.
Yeah, I know. I was confused by that too. And I mentioned to put that in the defense. He had 17 snaps in this game. So, just
Yeah,
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, that's Shep saw what he saw. They called it how they wanted to call it, and I mean, like we already said, we were right there. It wasn't like we were just thoroughly destroyed on Sunday night. And just to what you had already said about the injuries, as far as I can tell, the only people that we have that were lost for the season that were starters were Levi and Rakestraw, who was not necessarily a starter, but he's supposed to be a high contributor. Everybody else that's out right now could be back. So I mean, when you're looking at the training camp, what your projected starting lineup is going to be, that's probably what the starting lineup is going to look like come playoff time. Knock on wood, as of right now. Yes, we're battling through these injuries, but that's also what we talked about before is, if Kirby is hurt, if Branch is banged up, maybe it's better that they just sit out and get better, even if that means that we struggle more, or like this one, took a loss here.
I mean, Dan Campbell said it before. Did we put too much pressure and play to get the number 1 seed instead of just getting in the tournament? And then it's like, do we sacrifice, the Bucks game? I'm not saying we do, because all games are important, and this is also has tiebreaker implications and everything. So, I mean, I'm not saying to do this, but if the fact that we lose this game, and then Kirby doesn't get more injured, Branch doesn't get more injured, but then we have them healthy in December, and we start stacking wins there right into the playoffs, it may mean more. So, not advocating city players just to sit players, but with the Branch suspension, it's not all like him missing a game isn't all bad. And honestly, the Bucks, like they're decimated by injuries. So I know Baker's we'll have a lot to talk about, on the Tampa Bay game coming up, but this may be the game. So I don't know. I'd be really thinking about getting Kirby. It's just a problem with the rest of the secondary being injured. We need someone back there. We need bodies back there, and you just run out of bodies. Unfortunately, that's where we're at. I think if we're healthy with DJ Reed and Terrion, and then they might be more willing to set Kirby down, but they just can't right now.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts.
Yep. All right. Let's quickly move into the Great Guarantee and the Roar Alert, and then we'll head out, and then we'll head over and do some All 22 after this. So I'll do the Great Guarantee. Jacob, you do the Roar Alert. So Great Guarantees, Jacob said Lions are going to win the turnover battle. There were 0 turnovers in the game, so it's kind of a wash right there. I said Amon-Ra was going to score a TD, and he would have got like a half a TD had Goff scored that touchdown, because he had a heck of a block, but I would have argued for it, but they did not score, and didn't happen. Ash said that Kelsey was going to score 2 TDs under 30 yards. He was wrong on both accounts. 78 yards with 0 TDs. He got head planted by a rock, as we said, but yeah. Ash
he was right in that they were
there.
going to be targeting him on some short routes. He just did not
Yeah.
anticipate us whiffing and allowing those short passes to turn into 15-yard
Yep.
gains.
Yeah. Way to bail Ash out there. Good. He's not even here and you're sucking up to him. All right. Review the roar alert, Jacob. Go ahead.
So I said Jake Bates. I thought this felt like one of those games. He was 1 for 1 on field goals, but it was just a routine day. So there was no last minute game winning field goal this time, which is kind of what I was anticipating. Ash, his roar alert was Kirby Joseph. Kirby had 4 tackles, didn't do much in the pass game. He missed several tackles and took some bad angles, but I chalked that up to the injury. He did have one really hard hit. It was like right after he came back. He had a really nice tackle. And I think it was on Pacheco, but nothing too loud from Kirby. Jason says Brian Branch. Specifically, you said Branch would cause a turnover. He did have 7 tackles, nothing noteworthy until the end. That's why I kind of added on here. The roar was loud, but after the game and for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
So we're talking about him after the game, but not like we wanted to.
No, certainly not. Oh man. But shame of a game. Trouble watching it after doing what we need to do for the podcast today. And based on our chat, I was surprised. I thought we might get some more talk about the ref and everything like that, but we're not. So chat's quiet today, so that's why we're not mentioning anybody. But I think everyone's got the same feeling. They just want to wash this out from their system and move on to the next game.
Yeah, it's not as fun to talk about the losses.
No.
Let's not dwell on this too long.
No, we'll move right on. We do have some good, Tampa Tones and the Buccaneers podcast I'm going to be on their podcast tomorrow. We're looking forward to talking with them. Tampa's, super knowledgeable about the Buccaneers and just football and sports in general. So he'll be fun to talk with. We'll have him on to give the Buccaneers perspective. I really want to talk to him about Baker Mayfield. And I also want to, we could talk about injuries because both of our teams are facing them. Now, a lot of times, you'll have both teams with like both defenses injury. What's interesting is that the injuries for each team line up. Like their wide receiver and, wide receivers are injured and our secondary is all injured. So it's kind of interesting. It's going to be all second stringers for second stringers. It's going to be like a preseason game in the back end there.
Right.
But we're going to do all 22, I think, here in a second. And yeah, so for Jacob, I'm Jason. Let's wash this taste out of our mouth. Bad sports weekend. Wings did win. How about that? Wings were the only winning team. My boys went to the game, saw the 6-3 win. And then, I don't know if you know this or not, but the Wings played during the day today, too. It was Canadian Thanksgiving, and they played Toronto, so they played like in the afternoon. And the Wings won again on a goal with 44 seconds left. Scored a goal with 44 seconds left to beat the Maple Leafs.
Yeah, the only reason that I saw is when I saw the post after the game ended, and I saw they won. I was like, wait a minute, and I had to click and see. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess it did just happen.
Yeah, I was shocked. The only reason I knew that they were playing this afternoon because I follow the Red Wings, but I'm not like super into it. Saw that they, Buddy wrote Red Wings won. We did get someone in the chat, and he just said Red Wings won. So yeah, that was our only redeeming thing the whole weekend. So, all right. For Jacob, I'm Jason. Let's go, Lions.